Chapter 1. Early Life. In the bustling streets of Brooklyn, New York, a young boy named Mike Tyson took his first steps. Brooklyn in the 1960s and 70s was a place of music, culture, and challenges. Buildings were tall, and the streets were always alive with people. Mike was born on June 30, 1966. He was the youngest of 3 children. His family lived in a small apartment. It was not fancy, but it was home. His mother, Lorna, worked hard to feed her children. Every day was a struggle for them. Growing up, Mike faced many difficulties. Money was tight. Sometimes, there wasn't enough food for everyone. But despite this, Lorna always tried to make Mike and his siblings feel loved. She would say, "Always stick together, and always believe in yourselves." However, Brooklyn's streets were tough. Outside their home, there were many dangers. There were gangs, and fights were common. For a young boy like Mike, it was not easy. He was often bullied by older kids. They would laugh at his clothes or take his lunch money. But Mike was a fighter, even then. He didn't like it when people pushed him around. One day, after another incident with a bully, a neighborhood man named Bobby saw Mike. Bobby was known for teaching kids how to box. He walked up to Mike and said, "You've got spirit, kid. How about I show you how to use those fists the right way?" Mike's eyes lit up. Boxing. It sounded exciting. And maybe, just maybe, he could learn to stand up to those bullies. Bobby took Mike under his wing. They started training in an old garage. It wasn't a proper gym, but it was enough. Mike learned how to throw punches and defend himself. Every day, after school, Mike would rush to Bobby's garage. He practiced hard, hitting the punching bag with all his might. Soon, word spread around Brooklyn. There was a new kid on the block, and he was good. Really good. Mike's confidence grew. The bullies, they stopped bothering him. Mike had found his passion. In those early days, nobody knew that the young boy from Brooklyn would one day become a boxing legend. But Mike had a dream. He wanted to be the best. And with each passing day, with each punch he threw, he was getting closer to that dream. Bobby would often tell him, "Remember, Mike, it's not just about the punches. It's about the heart. Never forget where you came from." Mike Tyson's journey had begun. The streets of Brooklyn were just the start. There were many challenges ahead, but young Mike was ready to face them all. After those first lessons with Bobby in the old garage, Mike felt a fire inside him. Boxing was not just a way to defend himself. It was a way to express himself. When he put on the gloves, he felt strong. He felt free. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Under Bobby's guidance, Mike's skills improved. But boxing was not just about physical strength. It was also about strategy, timing, and discipline. One day, while training, a man walked into the garage. His name was Cus D'Amato. Cus was a famous boxing coach. He had trained many champions. Mike had heard stories about him. Cus watched Mike train, his eyes sharp and focused. After the session, Cus approached Bobby. They talked for a while, sometimes looking over at Mike. Mike could feel his heart beating fast. Was Cus impressed? Did he see potential in him? Finally, Cus walked over to Mike. "You've got talent, kid," he said. "But talent isn't enough. Do you have the will, the heart, the discipline?" Mike nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "Yes, sir. I want to be the best." Cus smiled. "Then let's get to work." Under Cus's guidance, Mike's training became more intense. They trained early in the morning and late into the night. Cus taught Mike not just how to fight, but how to think like a champion. Boxing, Cus would say, is 90% mental. It's a chess game. You need to be always thinking, always planning. Mike listened and learned. Every day was a new lesson. Every challenge was a new opportunity, and with Cuss by his side, Mike felt unstoppable. Soon, it was time for Mike's first real match. The local gym was filled with people. The buzz of excitement was in the air. Mike's opponent was bigger and had more experience. But Mike was not afraid. He had trained hard. He was ready. The bell rang, and the match began. Mike remembered Cuss's words. He moved with purpose, thinking ahead, planning his moves. Punch after punch, round after round, Mike held his ground. The final bell rang. The crowd cheered. Mike had won his first match. After the match, Cuss hugged Mike. "You did well," he said. "But remember, this is just the beginning. There's a long road ahead." Mike nodded. He knew that this was just one step on his journey. There would be more fights, more challenges, more lessons. But with his passion for boxing and Cuss by his side, Mike felt ready for anything. The boy from Brooklyn was on his way to greatness. He had discovered not just boxing, but his calling, and nothing was going to stop him. Chapter 2. The Young Phenom. The sun rose, casting a golden hue over the quiet streets of Catskill, New York. Here, away from the noisy streets of Brooklyn, Mike began a new chapter of his life. This small town was different, peaceful, but it held a secret, an old gym where champions were made. Cuss D'Amato had brought Mike here. To be the best, Cuss said, you need focus, away from distractions. This place will be our sanctuary. The gym was simple, filled with the echoes of fighters from the past. Punching bags hung from the ceiling, and a boxing ring sat in the center. The walls had photos of boxing legends, each one telling a story of determination and glory. Every morning, Mike woke up early. He would run through the quiet streets, with the cool morning air filling his lungs. The townspeople would often see him, a blur of speed, and they would wave, admiring his dedication. After his run, it was time for training. Cuss was a strict teacher. He believed in discipline and hard work. Talent, he would say, gets you started, but hard work makes you a champion. They would spend hours in the gym. Cuss taught Mike the art of boxing. Every punch, every move, every strategy was practiced over and over. Repetition is the key, Cuss would often remind Mike. Do it until it becomes a part of you. But it wasn't just physical training. Cuss believed in the power of the mind. He would sit with Mike, talking about life, about challenges, about dreams. A strong mind, Cuss said, is a boxer's best weapon. Mike listened, absorbing every word. He respected Cuss deeply. Cuss was more than a coach. He was a mentor, a guide, a father figure. Under his guidance, Mike transformed. The once angry boy from Brooklyn was becoming a focused, disciplined fighter. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. News of the young phenom spread. People from all over came to watch him train. They whispered among themselves, "This kid is special. He's going to be a legend." Mike's reputation grew. He began participating in amateur fights, and with each victory, his confidence soared. But Cuss kept him grounded. "Remember," he would say, "stay humble. Respect your opponents. Every fight is a lesson." Mike took those words to heart. He knew he was talented, but he also knew that talent alone was not enough. He needed discipline, focus, and the wisdom that Cuss imparted. In that old gym in Catskill, under the watchful eyes of Cuss D'Amato, a star was rising. The world of boxing was about to witness the rise of a young phenom. The boxing world buzzed with whispers of a new talent. Word of Mike's power and precision in the ring spread like wildfire. Everyone wanted to see this young phenom in action, and soon they would get their chance. Mike was ready to step into the junior circuit. The junior circuit was a series of boxing matches for young and upcoming fighters. This was a stage where future champions were recognized. It was a test for Mike, but he was ready. His first match was in a large gym, filled with eager spectators. Mike's opponent was taller and had longer reach, but what Mike lacked in height, he made up for with his speed and technique. From the first bell, it was clear that Mike was in a class of his own. He dodged punches with grace, and every hit he delivered was powerful. The crowd gasped with every move. By the third round, Mike's opponent was out of breath, struggling to keep up. And then, with one swift uppercut, Mike knocked him out. Victory. After the match, reporters surrounded Mike, asking questions, flashing cameras. But Mike remained calm, thanking Cuss for his guidance. "This win is for him," Mike would often say. Match after match, Mike dominated the junior circuit. His style was aggressive, but he was also smart. He studied his opponents, looking for weaknesses. And when he found them, he struck. There were challenges, of course. Some matches were tougher than others. But even in the face of strong opponents, Mike's determination shone through. With Cuss's teachings in his mind, he pushed forward, never giving up. Stories of his victories spread. People began calling him Iron Mike. They said he had fists of steel. And as the wins piled up, it became clear Mike Tyson was not just a talented boxer, he was a force of nature. One evening, after a particularly tough match, Mike sat with Cuss. They were in the quiet gym, the only sound being the soft crake of the punching bags. "You're doing well," Cuss said. "But remember, every champion faces defeat at some point. It's how you respond to that defeat that defines you." Mike nodded, taking in the wisdom. "I won't let you down," he replied. Cuss smiled, patting Mike on the back. "I know you won't. You're destined for greatness." And as the days turned into nights and the nights into days, the legend of Mike Tyson continued to grow. The boy from Brooklyn, under the mentorship of Cuss D'Amato, was making waves, and the world of boxing was taking notice. Chapter 3. Conquering the Pros. The junior circuit had been a proving ground for Mike, but now, a bigger challenge awaited. The professional boxing world. Here, the stakes were higher, the opponents tougher, and the spotlight brighter. But Mike, with fire in his eyes and Cuss by his side, was ready to conquer. His professional debut was a grand affair. The stadium was packed, the lights dazzling. People had come from far and wide, eager to see Iron Mike in action. The air was thick with anticipation. The bell rang, signaling the start of the match. Mike's opponent was seasoned, having many professional fights under his belt. But from the onset, Mike's intensity was palpable. He moved swiftly, his punches precise and powerful. Round after round, Mike dominated. Every time his opponent tried to fight back, Mike responded with even more vigor. And then, in the fifth round, with a punch that seemed to come from the depths of his soul, Mike sent his opponent to the canvas. The referee counted. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10. Knockout. The crowd erupted in cheers. The boxing world had just witnessed the birth of a new superstar. And this was just the beginning. Match after match, Mike's streak of victories continued. Fighters, both new and experienced, stepped into the ring with him. But none could withstand the force that was Mike Tyson. His technique, combined with his raw power, was unparalleled. But it wasn't just his boxing skills that caught people's attention. Mike's discipline, his focus, and his respect for his opponents made him stand out. In post-match interviews, he would always credit Cuss for his success. "He's my guiding light," Mike would say, his voice filled with emotion. As months turned into years, Mike's record was impressive. Victory after victory, knockout after knockout. Boxing enthusiasts began comparing him to the greats. Some said he might be the best heavyweight ever. Cuss, watching from the sidelines, was proud. But he also knew that with success came challenges. He would often remind Mike, "Stay grounded. The real test is not in winning but in handling success." Mike listened, treasuring every piece of advice. The world saw him as a fierce boxer, but those close to him knew his gentle side, his dedication to his craft, and his respect for his mentor. The world of professional boxing had seen many champions, but Mike's streak of victories was something special. He wasn't just winning matches, he was winning hearts. And as each victory added to his legacy, a legend was being carved, one punch at a time. Mike's rise in the professional boxing world was like a comet, bright, powerful, and impossible to ignore. But there was one title, one dream, that beckoned him, becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. And he was on the brink of making history. The current champion was a formidable opponent, known for his strength and experience. Many believed that Mike, despite his talent, was too young, too inexperienced for this challenge. But Mike and Cus believed otherwise. The training sessions became more intense. Every day, from dawn till dusk, Mike was in the gym. Cus pushed him harder than ever, perfecting every punch, every defense. "This is your moment," Cus would say, "and we won't leave anything to chance." The night of the championship fight was electric. The arena, filled to the brim, echoed with the roars of the crowd. The atmosphere was thick with tension, excitement, and anticipation. As Mike walked to the ring, he remembered his journey from the streets of Brooklyn to this grand stage. He remembered Cus's teachings, his sacrifices, and his belief. Mike felt a surge of energy. He was ready. The bell rang, and the two titans clashed. It was a dance of power and skill, with each boxer looking for an opening. The champion was strong, landing punches on Mike. But Mike was resilient, bouncing back, finding his rhythm. The rounds progressed, and the match seemed even. Both fighters, drenched in sweat, gave their all. The world watched with bated breath, witnessing a battle of wills. Then, in a moment that would be replayed for years to come, Mike saw an opening. With a combination of swift punches, he cornered the champion. And with a final powerful uppercut, Mike sent him to the ground. The crowd went silent, then erupted in a deafening roar. The referee began the count. The champion tried to get up, but the strength had left him. The count reached 10, and just like that, Mike Tyson, at the age of 20, became the youngest heavyweight champion of the world. The arena was a sea of emotions. Tears, cheers, applause. Mike, with the championship belt around his waist, looked for Cus. Their eyes met, and in that silent exchange, a world of gratitude, pride, and love was shared. In the post-match interview with the world watching, Mike said, "This victory is not just mine. It's Cus's. It's for everyone who believed in me. I'm just getting started." The world of boxing had a new king, a young man from Brooklyn who had faced challenges, overcome doubts, and defied the odds. Mike Tyson was not just a champion. He was a symbol of hope, determination, and sheer will. The story of Mike's ascent to the pinnacle of boxing was not just about punches and knockouts. It was a tale of mentorship, belief, and the undying spirit of a young fighter who dared to dream big. Chapter 4: Personal Struggles. Atop the world of boxing, Mike was unstoppable. Inside the ring, his punches spoke volumes, and his victories were awe-inspiring. But outside the ring, life was not so simple. Fame brought attention, wealth, and luxury. Mike was surrounded by a sea of people, some genuine, some opportunistic. The bright lights of fame also cast dark shadows, and amidst these shadows, Mike found himself entangled in tumultuous relationships. He fell in love, a passionate kind of love that was as fiery as his presence in the ring. The world watched as Mike, the formidable champion, displayed a vulnerability, a side of him that was tender and sensitive. But love, like boxing, came with its challenges. Arguments, misunderstandings, and the glare of the media made things difficult. Every disagreement, Every moment of intimacy was under the spotlight. The world that once cheered for his victories in the ring now whispered about his personal life. Mike tried to shield his emotions, but the weight of public scrutiny took a toll. Nights were long, filled with thoughts and reflections. There were moments of joy, stolen in the quiet, away from the eyes of the world. But there were also moments of pain, of questioning, of doubt. One evening, after a particularly heated argument, Mike sat alone, looking at the city lights. The world saw him as a champion, but at that moment, he felt defeated, lost. The echo of Cuss's advice rang in his ears. The real test is not in the ring, but outside it. Mike realized that while boxing had taught him to fight, life was teaching him to navigate, to understand, to heal. Relationships were not about winning or losing. They were about understanding, compromising, and growing together. As the days turned into nights and the nights into days, Mike grappled with his emotions. He sought solace in training, in the rhythm of punches, in the sweat and grind of the gym. But every time he stepped out, the world, with its opinions and judgments, awaited. In a candid interview, Mike opened up. Inside the ring, I have opponents. Outside, I have challenges. Both teach me. Both shape me. The journey of Mike Tyson, the world champion, was not just about titles and belts. It was about a man, vulnerable and strong, facing the complexities of love, relationships, and the weight of fame. It was about the struggles that came with success, the lessons that were as real as the punches he took and delivered. And as Mike faced each challenge, as he navigated the tumultuous waters of relationships, he grew not as a boxer, but as a man. The boxing ring was Mike's sanctuary. It was where he felt powerful, invincible. But outside that ring, a different kind of battle raged, one that was silent, internal, and far more challenging. Fame is a double-edged sword. With the adoration and cheers came the pressures and expectations. And Mike, despite his tough exterior, felt the weight of it all. The world saw Iron Mike, but inside he was wrestling with his inner demons. There were nights when sleep eluded him, nights when the weight of his past, the pressures of the present, and the uncertainties of the future haunted him. Memories of his tough childhood, the hardships, and the struggles came rushing back. The fame and fortune couldn't shield him from these moments of vulnerability. Mike began seeking refuge in different ways. Some brought temporary relief, others more complications. The headlines began to change. Instead of his victories, they highlighted his struggles. Every mistake, every lapse in judgment was magnified for the world to see. In the solitude of his home, Mike often looked at his reflection, searching for answers. The face that stared back was a mix of the world champion and the young boy from Brooklyn, both seeking acceptance and peace. Cuss had always been his guiding star, his beacon of hope. In his moments of despair, Mike would recall his words, "Champions aren't just made in the ring, Mike. They are made in the heart." It was a tough journey, recognizing the demons, confronting them, and seeking help. Mike took steps, some small, some big, towards healing. He sought therapy, spoke openly about his mental struggles, and slowly started rebuilding his life, piece by piece. His fans saw this transformation. The world, which had once judged him, now began to understand and empathize. Many realized that Mike's story was not just about boxing. It was a tale of resilience, of facing one's shadows and rising above them. In a poignant interview, Mike said, "We all have our battles, our demons. It's about facing them, not running. And it's okay to seek help. It's okay to be vulnerable." Mike's story resonated with many. His courage in facing his inner struggles inspired countless others to confront their own challenges, to seek help, to heal. The legend of Mike Tyson was not just about knockouts and titles. It was a story of a man who faced adversity, both in the ring and outside. A man who showed the world that real strength lay in acknowledging one's vulnerabilities, in seeking help, and in overcoming the toughest opponent of all, oneself. And as the world watched, Mike Tyson, the boy from Brooklyn, the boxing legend, emerged as a beacon of hope, not just for fighters in the ring, but for fighters in life. Chapter 5. Trials and Imprisonment. Every hero's journey is filled with peaks and valleys. For Mike, after scaling the highest peaks of boxing success, a deep valley awaited. The year was 1991. The world that had cheered for Mike's victories now gasped in shock. Headlines screamed with news that was hard to digest. Mike Tyson was accused of a serious crime. The public's reaction was a mix of disbelief and disappointment. Some stood firmly by his side, believing in his innocence. Others turned their backs, quick to judge, quicker to condemn. The courtroom was a stark contrast to the boxing ring. Here, Mike was not the champion, but a man on trial. Every day as he walked into the courtroom, cameras flashed, capturing a Mike that the world hadn't seen before. Vulnerable, unsure, defeated. Inside, the battle was intense. Lawyers argued, witnesses testified, and evidence was presented. The weight of the situation, the seriousness of the charges, hung heavily in the air. Mike, used to fights that lasted rounds, was now in a battle that seemed endless. Days turned into weeks. The trial, widely covered by media, was on everyone's lips. Mike's past victories, his struggles, his rise from the streets of Brooklyn, all faded into the background. The world's focus was on the here and now. Was Mike Tyson guilty or innocent? In a heart-wrenching moment, Mike took the stand. With raw emotion, he spoke, trying to convey his side of the story. But the court's decision came like a sledgehammer. Guilty. The world paused. The once invincible Iron Mike, the youngest heavyweight champion, was sentenced to imprisonment. The fall from grace was swift and brutal. Away from the spotlight, Mike found himself in a cell, a world far removed from the roaring crowds, the glitz and the glamour. A world where he was just another inmate. The weight of the situation bore down on him. Questions haunted him. How did he reach here? Was this the end of the road for him? The darkness seemed overwhelming, but deep inside, the fighter in Mike refused to give up. As days turned into nights, Mike began to reflect. This time of forced isolation became a period of introspection. He read books, wrote in journals, and sought to find a sense of purpose amidst the chaos. The cold metal bars, the strict routine, the confined space. Prison was a world apart from what Mike was used to. No roaring crowds, no shining belts, just silence and time. Lots of time. Mike's first days behind bars were tough. He felt anger, regret, and sadness. But deep down, the fighter in him whispered, "This is just another round, another battle." Slowly, Mike began to see prison not just as a punishment, but as an opportunity. An opportunity to reflect, to learn, and to grow. He surrounded himself with books. Philosophy, history, biographies. The words of great thinkers and leaders gave him solace. They provided a window to a world outside and made him ponder about life, choices, and destiny. Amongst the inmates, Mike's presence was a curious mix of awe and respect. He wasn't just another prisoner. He was Mike Tyson, the world champion. But Mike, stripped of his fame, was just another man trying to find his way. He started attending group sessions where inmates shared their stories, their regrets, their dreams. Listening to them, Mike realized that everyone had a story, a battle, a journey. These sessions became his anchor, a place where he could share, listen, and heal. One day, an older inmate approached him. "You know, Mike," he began, "this place can either break you or make you. The choice is yours." That simple statement struck a chord. Mike realized that his time in prison could be a path to rediscovery. He began to train again, not for a match, but for himself. The prison yard became his gym. Every morning, as the sun cast its first rays, Mike could be seen shadowboxing, training, sweating. It was a sight that inspired many. If Mike Tyson could rise above his circumstances, so could they. Prison, oddly, became a place of learning for Mike. He discovered the power of meditation, the beauty of solitude, and the importance of self-reflection. He formed unlikely friendships, bonds that were forged in adversity. Letters poured in from fans, some offering support, others sharing their own stories of struggle. Each letter was a reminder that life outside awaited, that redemption was possible, that hope was alive. As the days turned into months and months into years, Mike transformed. The once angry, impulsive young man evolved into a more thoughtful, introspective individual. Prison had given him a perspective that the world outside couldn't. The day of his release arrived. As Mike stepped out, the sun felt warmer, the world more welcoming. He wasn't just leaving behind a prison. He was leaving behind old demons, past mistakes. He was stepping out, renewed. The world saw a changed Mike Tyson. Not just a boxing legend, but a man who had faced his darkest fears, battled his inner demons, and emerged stronger. His time behind bars wasn't just about serving a sentence. It was about finding himself. Chapter 6. A Shot at Redemption. The world had seen many versions of Mike Tyson over the years. The fierce young boxer, the troubled star, the reflective prisoner. Now, they waited with bated breath, which Mike would emerge after his time behind bars. The city buzzed with excitement. Rumors swirled. Was Mike Tyson coming back to boxing? After all the twists and turns of his life, could he really make a comeback? The answer came soon. Mike was back in the gym, but this time, there was a different fire in his eyes. It wasn't just about winning titles. It was about redemption, about proving to the world and himself that he could rise once again. Training sessions were intense. Every punch, every move, was a display of dedication. Mike was not just fighting an opponent, he was fighting his past, his demons, his doubts. The media was in a frenzy. Every day, new stories, new speculations. Is Mike Tyson fit enough? Has prison changed him? Can he reclaim his throne? Amidst this whirlwind, Mike found solace in his training. The familiar rhythm of the gym, the sound of gloves hitting the bag, the sweat, the pain. It was therapeutic. It was home. His first match after his release was a spectacle. The arena was packed. Fans, celebrities, critics, all eyes were on Mike. The atmosphere was electric. The anticipation, palpable. As he made his way to the ring, the crowd erupted. Cheers, shouts, applause. The world was witnessing history. Mike Tyson, against all odds, was back. The bell rang. The match began. From the first punch, it was clear. Mike was in form. His moves sharp, his reflexes quick. Every round showcased his skill, his passion, his determination. But more than his physical prowess, it was his mental strength that shone through. The discipline, the focus, the resilience. It was a new Mike in the ring. The match ended with Mike's hand raised in victory. The crowd went wild. The comeback was complete. But for Mike, this wasn't just a win in the ring. It was a win against life's challenges, against his own inner battles. In the post-match interview, Mike reflected, today wasn't just about boxing. It was about proving that no matter how hard life hits, you can always fight back. The world cheered, not just for the boxer Mike Tyson, but for the man, the survivor, the phoenix that rose from the ashes. His journey back to the ring was more than a sporting spectacle. It was a testament to the human spirit, the will to fight, to persevere, to rise. And as the lights dimmed and the crowd dispersed, one thing was clear. Mike Tyson's story was not just about boxing, it was about hope, redemption, and the undying spirit of a champion. Victory in the first match was sweet, but Mike knew the path ahead was long. The boxing world had evolved in his absence. New champions had risen, new stars shone brightly. If he was to truly regain his lost glory, he would have to face and conquer them. The next few matches were a test. Each opponent brought a new challenge, a new strategy. Some were swift and agile, dancing around Mike with grace. Others were powerhouses, looking to dominate with sheer strength. But with each fight, Mike's experience, his determination, and his unique skill shone through. He wasn't just battling his opponent, he was battling the shadows of doubt and the echoes of his past. The world watched, captivated. The Tyson mania was back. Fans filled arenas, donning Mike's merchandise, cheering fervently with every punch he landed. Match after match, Mike inched closer to the title shot, the ultimate test, the chance to wear the golden belt once again. The media called it the fight of the decade. Mike Tyson against the reigning heavyweight champion. Billboards, TV ads, radio jingles. The hype was everywhere. The night of the match arrived. The atmosphere was electric. You could feel the tension, the excitement, the anticipation. As Mike entered the arena, a sea of fans roared, creating a thunderous wave of support. The bell rang, and the two titans clashed. Every punch, every block, every move was a dance of strategy and skill. The rounds progressed, each more intense than the last. By the final round, the outcome was still uncertain. Both fighters, drenched in sweat, bearing the marks of battle, gave it their all. The bell rang, signaling the end of the fight. As the judge's decision was awaited, time seemed to stand still. Then, the announcer's voice boomed, and the new heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson. The arena erupted in joy. Fans cheered, tears flowed, and for a moment, all the struggles, all the challenges, all the doubts vanished. Mike had done it. He had reclaimed his throne. In the midst of the celebration, Mike took the microphone. His voice, filled with emotion, echoed in the arena. This isn't just my victory. It's a victory for everyone who's been knocked down, for everyone who's faced challenges. It's proof that with determination, with belief, with heart, you can rise again. The journey was complete. From the streets of Brooklyn to the heights of boxing fame, from the depths of personal struggles to the redemption of a champion, Mike Tyson's story was a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human soul. His legacy wasn't just about punches and titles. It was about resilience, perseverance, and the sheer will to never give up, no matter the odds. Chapter 7. Beyond the boxing ring. The roar of the crowd, the bright lights of the arena, the adrenaline of the fight. Mike knew them all too well. But beyond the boxing ring, a new world was waiting for him. A world of cameras, scripts, and stages. Hollywood first beckoned with small movie roles. Mike, with his unmistakable presence, was a natural fit. He started with cameos, small appearances where he often played himself. The world got to see a new side of him, the actor. It wasn't just about throwing punches or dodging hits. It was about capturing emotions, telling a story, connecting with an audience in a whole new way. And surprisingly, Mike took to it like a fish to water. His first major cameo in a popular comedy film was a sensation. The scene, a grand house, a piano, and Mike Tyson singing along. It was unexpected, hilarious, and utterly memorable. People left theaters talking not just about the movie's plot, but about that Mike Tyson scene. As his confidence grew, so did his roles. From playing the tough guy to showcasing his comedic timing, Mike was proving that he was not just a boxing legend, but a versatile entertainer. Then came Broadway. The stage was different from a movie set. Live audience, no second takes, real-time reactions. It was a challenge, but Mike was no stranger to challenges. He collaborated with a famous director for a one-man show. It was titled Mike Tyson, The Undisputed Truth. Here, he was not playing a character. He was being himself, raw and unfiltered. The show was a journey through his life. From his childhood in Brooklyn to his boxing triumphs, from his lows to his highs. It was heartfelt, emotional, and powerful. Each night, as the curtains rose, Mike stood alone on stage, facing a sea of expectant faces. And each night, he bared his soul. He spoke of dreams, of regrets, of laughter and tears. And as the final lines were delivered, and the curtains fell, the applause was deafening. Critics praised his honesty. Fans loved the intimate insight into his life. Mike Tyson, the boxer, the actor, had now added another title to his name, the Broadway star. Away from the boxing ring, Mike was finding new arenas to conquer. His story was no longer just about fights and titles. It was about reinvention, about proving that life could have second acts, about showing the world that every individual is more than just the labels put on them. As Mike stepped off the Broadway stage, signing autographs and taking photos with fans, one thing was clear. His journey was far from over. The boy from Brooklyn was continuously evolving, finding new rings, new stages, and new stories to tell. From delivering knockout punches to delivering punchlines, Mike Tyson's journey took yet another unexpected turn: the world of comedy. At first, the idea seemed strange. Mike Tyson, the former heavyweight champion, doing comedy. But as the world was soon to discover, Mike had a knack for making people laugh, often with just a simple, unexpected comment or a playful jab at himself. His journey into comedy began with guest appearances on popular TV comedy shows. Every time Mike appeared on screen, with his signature lisp and playful demeanor, audiences were in splits. His natural comedic timing, combined with his ability to laugh at himself, was a hit. Soon, offers started pouring in. From hosting comedy events to participating in comedic skits, Mike was everywhere, and each appearance only solidified his reputation as a comedy sensation. One memorable moment was his appearance on a popular late-night talk show. The host, known for his sharp wit, tried to playfully mock Mike. Without missing a beat, Mike responded with a hilarious comeback, leaving the host speechless and the audience in peals of laughter. But it wasn't just about quick jokes and one-liners. Mike explored deeper comedic waters with a podcast. Titled Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, it was a blend of humor, serious conversations, and Mike's unique perspective on life. The show quickly gained a following, with fans tuning in not just for the laughs, but for the heartwarming and sometimes surreal stories Mike shared. One particular episode featured Mike discussing his love for pigeons, leading to a comedic retelling of his early days in Brooklyn and how a fight over a bird led him to discover boxing. The story, filled with Mike's unique brand of humor, was both hilarious and touching. As his comedic career flourished, Mike also used humor for a cause. He participated in charity comedy events, using laughter to raise funds for various causes close to his heart. He became an ambassador for the power of comedy, proving that laughter could heal, connect, and uplift. However, just like in boxing and acting, Mike faced challenges in comedy. Not every joke landed, not every audience laughed. But with his trademark determination, he took the hits, learned, and came back stronger, funnier. And through it all, one thing remained constant: Mike's authenticity. Whether he was recounting a funny anecdote from his past or joking about his own mistakes, he was genuine. And that authenticity, combined with his unique comedic voice, endeared him to millions. As the world laughed with Mike Tyson, the comedy stages became yet another ring he conquered. From the fierce boxer to the Broadway star, To the comedy sensation, Mike's story was a testament to the endless possibilities of life, the magic that happens when one embraces change, and the power of laughter in healing and transformation. Chapter 8. Our personal transformation. The applause, the fame, the thrill of the fight. Mike had experienced it all. Yet, as the lights dimmed and the noise faded, there was a longing in his heart, a void that neither boxing nor entertainment could fill. That void led Mike on a new journey, one of inner discovery and spiritual awakening. It began on a quiet morning. Mike, tired from his busy life, decided to take a solitary trip to the mountains. Away from the cameras, the fans, and the responsibilities, he sought peace. As he walked through the forest, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the gentle whispers of the wind spoke to him. Nature's calm enveloped him, allowing Mike to reflect on his life, his choices, and the meaning of his existence. One evening, sitting by a serene lake, Mike had an epiphany. He realized that his life's worth wasn't just in the titles he won or the fame he achieved. It was in the connections he made, the lives he touched, and the soul's journey. This realization marked the beginning of Mike's spiritual journey. He delved into various spiritual practices, from meditation to studying ancient scriptures. He sought the guidance of spiritual teachers, traveling to distant lands, learning about different cultures, and immersing himself in their spiritual traditions. In one of his travels to Asia, Mike encountered Buddhism. The teachings resonated deeply with him, especially the ideas of impermanence, compassion, and the quest for inner peace. He began to practice meditation daily, finding solace in the stillness and gaining insights into his own mind and emotions. This new path was not always easy. There were moments of doubt, moments when old habits and temptations tried to pull him back. But with each challenge, Mike's newfound spiritual strength guided him. He learned to face his fears, his regrets, and his past with a compassionate heart. Stories of his transformation began to spread. People were inspired to see the fierce boxer, once feared for his raw power, now advocating for peace, love, and understanding. Mike began to share his journey, speaking at spiritual retreats and events, touching the hearts of many with his story of redemption and awakening. In one such event, as Mike sat on stage, a soft glow from the setting sun illuminating him, a fan asked, "What's the most important lesson you've learned in your spiritual journey?" Mike, with tears in his eyes, responded, "That true strength doesn't come from our fists, but from our hearts, and that peace, real peace, begins within." Mike's spiritual awakening transformed not only his own life, but also inspired countless others. From the rugged streets of Brooklyn to the serene temples of Asia, his journey was a testament to the human spirit's capacity for change, growth, and finding a deeper purpose. As Mike's inner world evolved, so did his perspective on his role in the outer world. The man who had once stood in the ring, battling opponents with his fists, now stood in a different arena, fighting for causes and lending a hand to those in need. Mike's transformation wasn't limited to his personal spiritual awakening. He began to channel his fame, resources, and energy towards advocacy and philanthropy. He became a voice for the voiceless, taking up causes that resonated with his personal experiences and the lessons he had learned. One of the first causes Mike championed was youth mentorship. Remembering his early years in Brooklyn, where guidance and a positive role model like Cus D'Yonato had changed his life's trajectory, Mike felt a deep urge to give back. He set up a foundation aimed at supporting underprivileged children, offering them mentorship programs, sports training, and educational opportunities. But Mike didn't stop there. His spiritual journey had made him acutely aware of mental health's importance. Having faced his inner demons, he knew the struggle of many who battled mental illnesses silently, often without resources or support. Mike became an advocate for mental health awareness, using his platform to destigmatize discussions around it and raise funds for research and support. Furthermore, his travels and encounters with different cultures had opened his eyes to global issues. Mike became an ambassador for peace and unity. He started initiatives to support communities affected by violence and natural disasters, driving efforts to provide them with essential supplies, shelter, and rehabilitation. One particularly touching moment came during a visit to a war-torn region. As Mike walked through the rubble of what was once a bustling community, a young boy approached him, timidly holding out a worn-out boxing glove, seeking an autograph. Mike knelt down, signing the glove, and then held the boy, comforting him. It was a powerful symbol, the world of boxing connecting two souls amidst chaos and offering a glimmer of hope. With each initiative and effort, Mike's dedication to philanthropy became evident. The world began to see him not just as a boxing legend or an entertainment icon, but as a beacon of hope, a symbol of transformation, and a testament to the power of second chances. Events, galas, and fundraisers saw Mike in a new light, not basking in personal glory, but shining the spotlight on the causes he held dear. His speeches were heartfelt, his stories inspiring, and his commitment unwavering. Mike once said at a charity event, "Life gave me a second chance. Now, it's my turn to give others their chance." This statement echoed the sentiment of a man who had risen, fallen, and risen again, only to realize that the greatest victories weren't won in the ring, but in the heart. Through advocacy and philanthropy, Mike Tyson's personal transformation became a beacon for collective change, urging everyone to look beyond themselves and make a positive difference in the world. Chapter 9. The Entrepreneur. The spotlight, the roaring crowd, the tension in the air. Mike Tyson was no stranger to these sensations. But this wasn't the boxing ring. This was the business arena, a place where Mike, once again, was ready to prove his mettle. From delivering punches in the ring to delivering pitches in boardrooms, Mike's journey as an entrepreneur was about to begin. His venture into the world of business might have surprised many, but for Mike, it was a logical next step. Boxing had taught him discipline, determination, and strategy. These were qualities not just for the ring, but for the business world too. Mike's first foray into entrepreneurship was a reflection of his personal passion, a boxing academy. He wanted to create a space where young talents could hone their skills, learn discipline, and build their dreams. The academy wasn't just about training boxers, it was about shaping futures. Mike's vision was clear: to give kids the opportunities I had, and some I wish I had. But Mike's entrepreneurial spirit didn't stop there. He ventured into the world of fashion, launching a clothing line inspired by his boxing career. The line, aptly named Tyson, resonated with fans globally. It was not just about style. Each piece told a story from Mike's life, making them instant collectibles. However, not all ventures were smooth. Just like in his boxing matches, Mike faced challenges. There were failed investments, deals that didn't pan out, and ventures that faced hurdles. But Mike was no quitter. He learned from each setback, refined his strategies, and came back stronger. One of the game changers was his introduction to the emerging world of technology. Mike saw potential in the tech industry and decided to invest. He backed startups, participated in tech conferences, and even explored the realm of virtual reality, envisioning a world where boxing training could be experienced digitally. His most ambitious project was a tech platform that blended the world of sports, entertainment, and social networking. Think of a place where fans could not only watch their favorite sports, but also interact, train, and even challenge their idols in virtual arenas. Mike's vision was grand, and while the project faced its fair share of skepticism, he was determined to see it come to life. In one memorable pitch meeting, as Mike passionately presented his idea to potential investors, he said, "Boxing taught me that the impossible is just a challenge waiting to be conquered. The room erupted in applause, not just for the idea, but for the man behind it, the boxer-turned-business magnate who constantly defied expectations. Mike's transition from the world of boxing to the world of business was dramatic, yet fitting. His story was proof that the qualities that make a champion in the ring, resilience, vision, and determination, are the same that lead to success in the boardroom. Green fields stretched out as far as the eye could see, bathed in the golden hues of the setting sun. This wasn't just any field. It was Mike Tyson's next big venture, the world of cannabis farming. News of Mike stepping into the cannabis business took the world by surprise. But for Mike, it was more than just another business opportunity. It was personal. After years of battling inner demons and searching for peace, Mike had found relief and healing in medicinal cannabis. He believed in its potential not just as a product, but as a source of well-being. Tyson's ranch, as it came to be known, was vast and state-of-the-art. Rows upon rows of cannabis plants grew under the watchful eyes of experts. The goal wasn't just to grow cannabis, it was to pioneer research, ensure quality, and advocate for its responsible use. The journey, however, was riddled with challenges. The cannabis industry, though booming, was surrounded by skepticism, regulations, and competition. Mike was stepping into a ring of a different kind, where the battles were over market share, licenses, and public perception. But Mike had a vision. He didn't want his ranch to be just another cannabis farm. He envisioned a holistic wellness retreat, where individuals could come to relax, rejuvenate, and learn about the benefits of cannabis. He pictured yoga sessions amidst the green fields, educational tours explaining the science behind the plant, and therapeutic sessions harnessing its medicinal properties. The idea was bold and fresh, yet, as with all things Mike ventured into, there were critics. Newspapers buzzed with headlines, some calling it a masterstroke, while others dubbed it a risky gamble. Mike, however, remained unfazed. He often held press events at the ranch, inviting journalists to experience firsthand what the place was about. In one such event, as he walked amidst the fields with reporters trailing behind, he gestured to the plants and said, "This isn't just a business for me. This is hope, healing, and a chance at a better life for many." It was during these moments that the world saw a different side of Mike. Gone was the fierce boxer or the business tycoon. Here stood a man, passionate and vulnerable, sharing his personal journey of healing and his desire to spread that to the world. Under Mike's leadership, the ranch flourished. It became a hub for research, with scientists working on various cannabis strains, tailoring them for specific therapeutic needs. It also became a symbol of luxury, with celebrities often seen vacationing there, enjoying the blend of nature, wellness, and luxury. Yet, the heart of the ranch was its commitment to education and advocacy. Mike set up programs to educate doctors, patients, and the general public on the responsible use of cannabis. He shared his own story, speaking at conferences and events, emphasizing the plant's potential and the need for informed choices. In this venture, Mike Tyson wasn't just an entrepreneur. He was a visionary, a healer, and an advocate. His journey into the cannabis business was not just about profits. It was about purpose. It was about turning a controversial plant into a beacon of hope and well-being. Chapter 10. Tyson and Family. The bright lights, the roaring crowds, the fame and fortune. Mike Tyson had experienced it all, but away from the public eye, in the quiet corners of his heart, another story was unfolding, a story of love, challenges, and the joys of fatherhood. After the intense battles in the ring and the whirlwind of business meetings, there was a haven Mike always returned to: his family. The word family held a special meaning for Mike, perhaps because of the struggles he faced in his early years. While the world knew him as a fierce boxer, few saw the tender-hearted father and husband he became. Marriage wasn't always easy for Mike. With fame came distractions, temptations, and challenges. His early relationships were turbulent, filled with ups and downs, but they also taught him valuable lessons about love, trust, and commitment. It was in the midst of this journey that Mike met the woman who would become his anchor. A strong, compassionate soul who understood the man behind the fame. Their love story wasn't one of fairy tales. It was real, raw, and profoundly moving. Together, they weathered storms, celebrated joys, and forged a bond that seemed unbreakable. And then came the moment that changed Mike's life forever. The birth of his children. Holding his newborn in his arms, Mike felt emotions he had never known. An overwhelming sense of love, responsibility, and a desire to provide the best for his child. Fatherhood transformed Mike. The fierce boxer, who once struck fear in the hearts of his opponents, would now be seen singing lullabies, changing diapers, and playing hide and seek. His children brought out a side of him that the world rarely saw, a gentle, caring, and incredibly loving side. Mike's approach to parenting was deeply influenced by his own childhood. He wanted to give his children the stability, love, and support he often missed while growing up. He was determined to be there for every milestone, every achievement, every tear, and every laugh. But parenthood also brought challenges. Balancing a demanding career with family responsibilities wasn't easy. There were times Mike missed important moments, times when he wished he could be in two places at once. But through it all, his commitment to his family never wavered. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, Mike sat with his eldest child, looking up at the stars. The little one asked, "Daddy, why do you fight?" Mike looked into those innocent eyes and replied, "I used to fight for me, but now I fight for you and for this family. I fight to give you a better life." The journey of marriage and parenthood brought with it a roller coaster of emotions for Mike. Joy, frustration, pride, anxiety, love, and sometimes fear. But it also gave him a purpose bigger than any championship or business deal. His family became his anchor, his strength, and his biggest source of inspiration. As Mike once put it, "In the boxing ring, I found fame, but in my family, I found love." The world had watched Mike Tyson rise, fall, and rise again. They saw him as the youngest heavyweight champion, the formidable Iron Mike. But behind all the belts and titles, Mike sought a different legacy, one that was personal and deep-rooted in his heart, a legacy for his family, a legacy beyond the gloves. As years passed and Mike's hair grayed, he found himself reflecting on his life more often. Sitting in his grand living room, surrounded by trophies and photographs, his mind would wander to days long gone. The echoing roars of the crowd, the intensity of a fight night, the adrenaline. And then, the quiet moments at home, the first steps of his children, the laughter, the shared stories over dinner. Mike realized that while the world would remember him for his feats in the ring, he wanted his children to remember him differently. Not just as a boxing legend, but as a father, a mentor, a guiding star. He started by penning down his life story, not the one splashed across tabloids, but the intimate tales, the lessons learned, the battles fought both inside and outside the ring. He wrote about his mistakes, his regrets, and the wisdom he gained over the years. He wrote it as a testament for his children, a guide on life's intricate journey. Alongside his memoirs, Mike became more involved in community work. He established a foundation aiming at providing support to underprivileged youth. Drawing from his experiences, Mike wanted to show these young souls that no matter how tough the start, there was always hope and potential for a better tomorrow. He wanted them to see that if Mike Tyson, the boy from the rough streets of Brooklyn, could make it, so could they. His home became a haven for discussions about life, values, and purpose. He'd often invite influential thinkers, artists, athletes, and activists. His children were always a part of these gatherings, soaking in the knowledge, the diverse perspectives, understanding the power of dialogue. In his garden, right next to his training gym, Mike built a small boxing ring, but this wasn't for professional training. It was a space where he taught his children, not just about boxing, but about life. Every punch, every move had a lesson behind it. In life, as in boxing, he'd often say, "You have to know when to attack, when to defend, when to stand your ground, and when to walk away." For Mike, his true legacy wasn't in the number of matches he won, but in the values he instilled, the lives he touched, and the hope he ignited. It was in the stories he shared, the wisdom he passed on, and the love he gave unconditionally. In a candid moment, while watching his grandchildren play in the yard, Mike whispered to his wife, "These moments, this is my real legacy. Not the belts, not the fame, but this, family, love, and the lessons that live on." And thus, Mike Tyson, the global boxing sensation, found his truest legacy not in the echoing arenas, but in the hushed whispers of bedtime stories, in the guiding lessons for the next generation, and in the hearts of those he held dear. Chapter 11. Controversies and Challenges. Bright lights, a roaring crowd, two men in the ring, ready to battle. One was Mike Tyson, the man many considered the most fearsome boxer of his time. The other was Evander Holyfield, a worthy opponent with his own impressive reputation. Everyone expected a historic fight, but no one could predict the controversy that was about to unfold. From the moment the bell rang, the tension was palpable. Both fighters were in top form, delivering powerful punches and showing their boxing mastery. But as the rounds went on, a sense of unease began to grow. The crowd sensed it, the commentators talked about it, and the fighters felt it. Then, in a moment that would shock the world, Mike did the unthinkable. In a mix of frustration, anger, and adrenaline, he bit Holyfield's ear. Not once, but twice. The crowd gasped. Referees rushed in. Chaos ensued. Why did Mike do it? Theories abounded. Some said it was a reaction to Holyfield's headbutts. Others thought it was a desperate move by a fighter who felt cornered. Whatever the reason, the bite overshadowed everything else. The match was stopped. Mike was disqualified. A dark cloud had settled over what was supposed to be a legendary bout. The world reacted with disbelief. Headlines screamed. Fans were divided. Many condemned Mike, while others tried to understand what had driven him to such an extreme act. The boxing community was in turmoil. Discussions about sportsmanship, mental health, and the pressures of fame flooded the media. Mike was fined heavily, and his boxing license was revoked, but the real cost was much more profound. The incident damaged his reputation and cast a long shadow over his illustrious career. The boxer, who had faced numerous challenges in his life, found himself in the eye of yet another storm. In the days that followed, Mike tried to explain himself. He apologized to Holyfield, to the fans, and to the world of boxing. He spoke of the intense pressures he felt, the emotions that overcame him, and the mistakes he deeply regretted. But for many, the damage was done. Holyfield, for his part, showed immense grace. He accepted Mike's apology and spoke of forgiveness. The two would later reconcile, turning from foes to friends, but the incident remained a significant chapter in both their lives. Looking back, the Evander Holyfield bout serves as a powerful reminder. It tells of the thin line between control and chaos, of the burdens of fame, and of the imperfections that make us human. It's a chapter that Mike wished never existed, but it's also a chapter that taught him and many others about humility, redemption, and the unpredictable nature of life. In the grand tapestry of Mike Tyson's life, the Holyfield bout is a dark thread. But as with all challenges, it also brought lessons, growth, and a renewed commitment to personal development. In the wake of the biting incident and the whirlwind of negative press that followed, Mike Tyson felt like the world was against him. He had faced adversity before, but this was different. This was a test of his character, his resilience, and his will to move forward. For a while, Mike retreated from the public eye. The bright lights and roaring crowds that once energized him now seemed too much to bear. But within him, a fire still burned. He remembered his humble beginnings, the challenges he overcame as a young boy, and the mentor who believed in him when no one else did. These memories became his anchor, reminding him that he had faced tough times before and could do it again. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with hues of orange and purple, Mike sat alone in his training room, surrounded by memories of his past triumphs. He looked at his reflection in the mirror and whispered, "I've been down before. I can rise again." It was a declaration, a promise to himself that he would not let this setback define him. Mike began training with renewed vigor. Every morning, before the world woke up, he was in the gym, pushing himself harder than ever. With every punch, every bead of sweat, he was fighting not just to reclaim his title, but to prove to himself and the world that he was more than his mistakes. He sought counseling, hoping to understand the demons that haunted him and to find better ways to cope. He surrounded himself with positive influences, those who believed in him and supported his journey to redemption. With time, Mike started to rebuild his life and career. He took on new fights, not just in the ring but also against his past mistakes. He became a voice for change, speaking out about the pressures of fame and the importance of mental health. He started programs for troubled youth, using his story as a testament to the power of resilience and redemption. As years passed, the world began to see a changed Mike Tyson. Yes, he was still a formidable boxer, but he was also a man on a mission, determined to right his wrongs and leave a positive legacy. There were still challenges, of course. There were moments of doubt, moments when the weight of his past threatened to pull him down. But Mike had learned a valuable lesson. Adversity, no matter how great, could be overcome with determination, support, and belief in oneself. One day, during an interview, Mike was asked about his journey and how he managed to rise above the controversies. With a thoughtful look, he replied, "Life has a way of testing you, of pushing you to your limits. But I've learned that it's in these moments of challenge that we discover our true strength. My past doesn't define me. It's what I choose to do now, how I choose to grow and give back, that really matters." In the story of Mike Tyson, the chapters on controversies and challenges are undeniable. But more significant are the chapters on perseverance, growth, and the indomitable human spirit that refuses to be defeated. Chapter 12. Reflections and Lessons. As the years went by, Mike Tyson's days in the boxing ring began to fade. But the lessons he learned from those days remained, echoing in his mind like a song that never ends. The ring was more than just a place of battle. It was a classroom where life's deepest lessons were taught. Respect your opponent. Every time Mike entered the ring, he faced an opponent ready to give it their all. In the heat of the fight, it was easy to see them as the enemy. But with time, Mike understood that respecting his opponents was key. They, like him, had trained, sacrificed, and dreamed. Respect was a lesson that extended beyond the ropes. In life, every person he met had a story, dreams, and battles. Recognizing and respecting this was crucial. Every punch matters. In boxing, every punch could change the outcome of a fight. Similarly in life, every choice, every action had a consequence. Mike learned that he had to be mindful, to think before he acted. Sometimes, a small action could have a big impact, for better or worse. Embrace the pain. Boxing is a tough sport. Bruises, aches, and exhaustion are part of the game. But pain was also a teacher. It taught Mike to be strong, to push through, and to rise every time he fell. Life, too, brought its share of pain. But with every challenge, Mike grew stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Stay humble. Victory in the ring brought applause, fame, and admiration. But Mike knew that pride could be a dangerous thing. It was essential to stay grounded, to remember where he came from, and to be grateful for every blessing. Humility, he learned, was the true mark of a champion. The fight never ends. Even after the bell rang, after the gloves came off, the fight continued. Not in the ring, but in life. Mike realized that every day was a battle against his past, his fears, and his demons. But it was also a battle for his dreams, his loved ones, and his future. One evening, as Mike sat on his porch, watching the sunset, he reflected on his time in the ring. The cheers, the punches, the victories, and defeats all played back in his mind. He realized that the boxing ring had given him more than just fame. It had given him lessons that shaped his life. He thought of the young kids who looked up to him, who saw him as a hero, and he knew that he had a responsibility to pass on these lessons, to teach them that life, like boxing, was about more than just winning. It was about learning, growing, and finding meaning in every moment. The ring had been his teacher, and now it was his turn to be a teacher, to share the wisdom of the punches, the sweat, and the tears, to help others understand that every battle, whether in the ring or in life, brought its own set of lessons. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mike Tyson, once the most feared man in boxing, sat there, grateful for the lessons from the ring that had made him the man he was. The sun had set, and as the stars began to twinkle in the vast night sky, Mike Tyson found himself in a boxing gym. But this time he wasn't the one training. He watched as young boxers danced around the ring, their punches crisp, their eyes full of dreams. They were the next generation, and Mike felt a deep responsibility to guide them. Dream big, but stay grounded. Mike approached a young boxer who had just finished a sparring session. The boy, panting and sweating, looked up at Mike with wide eyes. "Always aim for the stars," Mike told him, "but remember to keep your feet on the ground. Dreams will push you forward, but it's your roots, your family, and your past that will keep you steady." Hard work over talent. A group of young boxers gathered around, eager to hear from the legend. Mike said, "Talent might get you in the ring, but it's hard work that will make you a champion. Never skip training. Never think you're too good to learn. Every day, show up and give your best. Face your fears." Mike noticed a young girl hesitating to enter the ring. He walked over and knelt beside her. "What's holding you back?" he asked gently. The girl whispered about her fear of getting hurt. Mike nodded. "Fear is natural. But remember, every time you face it, it becomes a little smaller. Step into that ring. Not to fight your opponent, but to fight your fears. It's okay to ask for help." Another boy looked frustrated, missing his punches, his movements out of sync. Mike approached. "Boxing, like life, is tough, and it's okay to ask for help. Your coaches, your teammates, your family, they're here for you. Lean on them when you need to." Character over championships. Before leaving, Mike gathered the young boxers in a circle. "Listen carefully," he began. "Belts will come and go, but who you are, your character, stays with you. Win with grace. Lose with dignity. Respect everyone. And most importantly, respect yourself." As the night deepened, the gym slowly emptied, but the lessons Mike shared lingered in the air. These weren't just lessons for the ring. They were lessons for life. Later, sitting in his car, Mike reflected on the evening. He thought of his younger self, the boy from Brooklyn, full of anger and dreams. He wished someone had shared these lessons with him back then. But now, he had the chance to make a difference in the lives of these young boxers. The drive home was quiet, but Mike's heart was full. He realized that his greatest legacy wouldn't be his championships or his fights. It would be the wisdom he imparted, the lives he touched, and the next generation he inspired. He imagined a future where these young boxers, armed with his lessons, would not only conquer the ring, but also the world outside. And in that thought, Mike Tyson, once the fiercest in the ring, found peace. Chapter 13. Beyond Boxing, Ventures and Projects. The sun shone bright, casting a golden hue on a vast piece of land. This wasn't any ordinary ranch. It bore the name of one of boxing's greatest legends, Tyson Ranch. Mike Tyson, the fierce boxer from Brooklyn, had ventured into new arenas outside the boxing ring. This time, his battleground was the world of business. Tyson Ranch, located in the heart of California, this ranch wasn't for cattle or farming. Instead, it was a cannabis resort. Mike had experienced the benefits of cannabis firsthand, and he believed in its healing powers. With Tyson Ranch, he aimed to provide a place where people could learn about, enjoy, and experience cannabis in a safe and open environment. The ranch had everything, from luxury glamping tents to a concert amphitheater. There was an edible factory, and even a university focused on cannabis education. Mike wasn't just creating a business, he was building an empire. Mike Tyson Mysteries. While Tyson Ranch was taking shape, Mike was also exploring the world of entertainment. He lent his voice to an animated show called Mike Tyson Mysteries. It was a comedy, and Mike played a fictional version of himself. The show was quirky and unexpected, just like the man behind it. It showcased Mike's lighter side, making everyone laugh with his adventures. Tyson Holistic Holdings. Mike's belief in the power of healing extended beyond Tyson Ranch. He launched Tyson Holistic Holdings, a company that produced and sold CBD products. These products, derived from hemp, were known to help with pain, stress, and other ailments. Mike had faced physical pain in the ring and emotional pain in life. With Tyson Holistic, he hoped to offer relief to those in need. Tyson's Investments. The boxer with a fierce punch also had a sharp mind for business. He invested in various sectors, from film production to fitness centers. Each venture carried a piece of Mike's passion and vision. He was not just putting his money, he was putting his heart and soul. One evening, as Mike walked through Tyson Ranch, he paused. He looked at the buzzing activity around. Visitors exploring, students learning, and a team passionately working. It was a moment of realization. He had built this. The boy from Brooklyn, who once knew only how to fight, was now creating, building, and inspiring. The world had known Mike Tyson as a champion in the ring. But here, in the vastness of Tyson Ranch and the expanse of his ventures, Mike was proving that he was a champion in the game of life too. The road hadn't been easy. There were challenges, doubts, and risks. But just like in boxing, Mike faced them head-on. With each venture, he was not just making money, he was making a difference. As the sun set on Tyson Ranch, casting long shadows on the ground, one thing was clear. Mike Tyson was not just a boxer, he was a visionary, a dreamer, and an entrepreneur. And his journey was far from over. The dim glow of studio lights illuminated the room. Soft murmurs echoed as last-minute checks were made. Mike Tyson, once a titan in the boxing ring, sat comfortably with headphones cradling his ears. But instead of punches, he now threw questions, shared stories, and connected deeply with his guests. This was Mike's new arena, the world of podcasting. Hot Boxin' with Mike Tyson. That was the name of his podcast. But it wasn't just any podcast. It was a raw, unfiltered journey into the heart of Mike Tyson and the stories of his esteemed guests. From fellow athletes to movie stars, from musicians to business moguls, the podcast hosted a plethora of personalities. In one episode, Mike would be laughing heartily, reminiscing old times. In another, He'd be shedding tears, diving deep into past traumas and shared human experiences. The podcast was a reflection of life itself, full of ups and downs, joys and sorrows, victories and defeats. The power of stories. Mike believed in the power of stories. He knew that everyone had a tale to tell, a lesson to share, or a dream to talk about. Through his podcast, he gave a platform for these stories to come alive. He wasn't just the host. He was a listener, a friend, a confidant. One memorable episode had a former opponent in the ring. The two once fierce rivals now shared laughs and memories. They spoke of the days of glory, the punches they threw, the bruises they bore, and the respect they held for each other. It was a testament to the passage of time and the healing it brings, revealing a new side. The world knew Mike as the indomitable boxer, but through his podcast, a new side was revealed. Here was Mike, the philosopher, the thinker, the man who pondered life's big questions. He spoke openly about his struggles, his dreams, and his journey of self-discovery. There was an episode where Mike talked about his childhood, the streets of Brooklyn, and the challenges he faced. His voice, laden with emotion, struck a chord with many listeners. They realized that behind the fierce boxer was a man with a heart, a story, and an unyielding spirit. Inspiring the world. Mike's podcast wasn't just about stories, it was about inspiration. Many listeners wrote to Mike, sharing how an episode changed their perspective, gave them hope, or simply made them laugh after a tough day. Mike was touching lives, not with his fists, but with his words. As another recording came to an end, Mike took off his headphones. The room, filled with the echoes of stories, dreams, and memories, was silent for a moment. But in that silence, a profound connection was felt. Mike Tyson, once the baddest man on the planet, was now uniting the world, one story at a time. The boxing ring was his past, but the microphone and the tales it carried were his present. And in this new chapter, Mike was not just a champion, he was a beacon of hope, inspiration, and humanity. Chapter 14. Legacy and Impact. The cool breeze ruffled through the leaves, causing a gentle rustling sound. Children gathered around an old man sitting under the shade of a massive oak tree in a park. They looked up with wide eyes, eager to hear tales of the past. The old man began his story of a boxer, a legend, Mike Tyson, a name that echoed. In the world of sports, few names echoed as loudly and clearly as Mike Tyson's. His fierce punches and rapid victories in the boxing ring had made him a household name. But it wasn't just his boxing skills that left an imprint on the world. It was his journey, his transformation, and his resilience. Role model for many, young boxers looked up to Tyson. They watched his matches, mimicked his style, and dreamed of achieving even a fraction of his success. He became a symbol of hope for many who came from challenging backgrounds, just like him. His story taught them that with determination and hard work, one could rise above any circumstance. A cultural phenomenon, Mike Tyson wasn't just a sports legend, he was a cultural phenomenon. Songs were written about him, movies featured him, and artists painted his portrait. His iconic face tattoo became a symbol of rebellion and individuality. Tyson was not just influencing the boxing community, he was shaping popular culture. The old man narrated a story of a young artist he once met. The artist had painted a magnificent portrait of Tyson, capturing the intensity in his eyes and the fire in his spirit. When asked why he chose Tyson as his subject, the artist replied, "Because he's a symbol of strength and survival. He teaches us that even in the toughest battles, we can emerge victorious." More than just a boxer. While many admired Tyson for his boxing prowess, others were inspired by his personal journey. They saw a man who faced countless challenges, both inside and outside the ring. Yet he never gave up. He battled his inner demons, faced his past, and emerged stronger. His life was a testament to the human spirit's indomitable will. As the old man continued, the children were transported to a world where punches were thrown, victories were celebrated, and lessons were learned. They visualized the roaring crowds, the tense moments, and the triumphant wins. They felt the pain of the defeats and the joy of the comebacks. The sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the park. The old man concluded his tales of Mike Tyson, reminding the children that legends like Tyson are remembered not just for their victories, but for the impact they leave behind. He said, "Kids, always remember, it's not about how hard you hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." That's what Mike Tyson taught us. The children left with stars in their eyes, carrying with them tales of a legend, lessons of life, and the inspiration to face their battles. In a vast arena filled with thunderous applause and blinding lights, stood a man, his muscles tense, his eyes focused. But this was not a boxing match. Instead, this was Mike Tyson's battle against his inner demons. The dark shadows. Every person has their battles, and Mike was no exception. Beneath the tough exterior lay a soul that had seen many storms. From a troubled childhood to the pressures of fame, from personal losses to public controversies, Mike's life was a roller coaster of emotions. A life of extremes. Mike lived a life of extremes. When he was on top, the world cheered for him. But when he stumbled, the same world judged him. These ups and downs took a toll on his mental health. There were times when Mike felt trapped, unable to escape the weight of his own thoughts. The arena of his mind echoed with voices of doubt, regret, and fear. Are you good enough? Can you really change? Do they love you or just the boxer in you? These questions, like fierce opponents in the ring, taunted him, pushing him to the brink. Seeking help. But Mike was a fighter, not just in the boxing ring, but in life. He knew he couldn't face these demons alone. So he sought help. He attended therapy, spoke openly about his mental health struggles, and surrounded himself with positive influences. The arena's atmosphere began to change. The loud jeers were replaced with whispers of encouragement, the blinding lights with a gentle glow of hope. Mike was learning to battle his inner demons, not with punches, but with understanding, acceptance, and love. Sharing his journey. Realizing that he wasn't alone in this fight, Mike decided to share his journey with the world. He spoke about the importance of mental health, urging others to seek help when they felt overwhelmed. His honesty touched many hearts, and soon, countless people found the courage to face their own battles, inspired by Mike's story. A beacon of hope. As the years went by, Mike's influence grew. He became more than just a boxing legend. He became a beacon of hope for those battling their own inner demons. His story was proof that with the right support, even the darkest thoughts could be overcome. In the arena, as the last of the shadows retreated, Mike stood tall, a symbol of resilience and hope. He looked out, not at roaring crowds, but at souls he had touched, lives he had changed. And in that moment, he knew that this was his most significant victory. The cheers weren't just for the boxer Mike Tyson. They were for Mike, the warrior, the survivor, the inspiration. And as the lights dimmed, the world realized that sometimes the hardest battles are fought not in the ring, but within ourselves. And in these battles, Mike Tyson emerged as a true champion.